Hi, everyone, and as always, welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Krish Patel, and today we've got another incredible tale just for you, and I can't wait for you to listen, watch, read, or however you connect with our inspirational tales. Before we begin, I want to remind you that we've got so much going on, and we're actually launching our Month to Inspire. Our Month to Inspire involves our live event with speakers from all over the country inspiring you. Our tickets are £5 and you can get them on Eventbrite. And just go onto our website and you can find out more also via our social media. From that, we have 3 incredible workshops: taking your first steps, setting goals and planning for the future, and also inner healing and how to really transform our lives from a deep situation of trauma. And then after that, we have our live event in person in Manchester. So there's lots of things going on. We also have our Schools to Inspire program, which is going in schools in deprived areas of the Northwest. And as always, we've got so much that's just for you, whether it's on our podcast, our blog, our YouTube channel, and of course, on our book that you can purchase online right now. Anyway, today's amazing guest is Abhinav Goswami. He goes through so much talking about sustainability and how his life went from one of poverty in India to going transforming that to living the life that many would dream of, working for Apple in the Silicon Valley, earning lots of money, and then having a realization that that is not what he wants for his life. You're going to absolutely love this. There's so much to take out of it, and I hope you enjoy. Abhinav Goswami, welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast.
Thank you, Chris, for the opportunity. Really appreciate your time and efforts for talking.
Of course. Well, this is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so different. I can't wait. So, Abhinav, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and we'll just go from there?
I grew up in a village in Aligarh, Uttar Pradesh, India. It was a remote village with no road connectivity, no water, no electricity. What developed city kid or developed world people know development. I didn't know anything of that deep. So I would walk on, dirt roads. I'll go when it's rainy. There's a lot of, mud on the street. So it was when I was in high school in that village. My electric bulb was a glass bottle you fill with kerosene and put a cotton thread in it and just lit it. So that's how we started. I started my life. I
So,
know.
if we go into your early childhood,
mm,
parents, brothers, and sisters, what kind of dreams did you have as a kid? Like, can you tell me a little bit more about that childhood and what it was like and the dynamics within the family?
So I was growing in the village, and we were a total agriculture economy, and agriculture was the main activity in the village. And so was my family. So I'm 2 brothers, 2 sisters. I'm the eldest one of all of them, and then 2 sisters and the youngest brother. So if things don't go right, I am the one who gets beaten for that. And there was a saying in Hindi, "Ek hai sab saadhe sab jaye," which means if you fix the leader, then rest of things will follow in order. So my father was a teacher, and he was a English and mathematics teacher. He also studied from Aligarh Muslim University, and he was a very disciplined person. We had about 20 cows in our home. So my job, when I would come from my, say, middle school, I remember categorically, uh, maybe in the afternoon I'll come, and then my job was to take these 20 cows, graze them in other fields, our fields and other neighbors' field. And back then, agriculture was like a mostly nature-based, and people would leave their fields open for 2 3 months, especially in the summertime, for natural grass to grow so that other people in the village can graze their cattle, those who didn't have the land. So it was a very social society where everybody was caring about everybody else. Um, and that's how I grew up. After my, they call it intermediate, means 12th standard. 12th standard was a tough thing, but I was able to secure first division, which is considered as like the great milestone in the village setup. also in the high school, which is 10th standard in India. So both first divisions, I was considered like a really good academic kid. From there, choices were what should I do for my graduation? Because if you ask me the childhood dream, uh, it was like in maybe eighth or ninth grade, I was seeing my father has 20 cows, my father's brother has similar numbers, all that. So I was thinking, when I grew up, maybe I'll have 50 cows.
I
That
love it. I love it.
so there was no dream of coming to US, working for big corporates and all that. But this is like a childhood mind which I remember. I'll have 50 cows, and that's how I'll live. uh, but I think the nature has something else planned for me, so I did my bachelor's uh, from a from a central university in Aligarh city. They call it Aligarh Muslim University. And from there, I went to Delhi University for my master's, and then later joined research work in statistics. So, and during that research work, I also came in contact some corporate meetings, and one conference I attended in Varanasi, they call it Kashi, and there I met a director of a company called Ranbaxy Bio Pharmaceuticals and all that. So from there, this discussions started joining corporate, and I joined as a biostatistician. From there, moved to GE Capital in Bangalore, and then from Bangalore to Hyderabad for Franklin Templeton Investments.
And
And
in Bangalore and Hyderabad are in India, for people who don't know, this is the
then,
hub in India, right? This is the technological hub where so much of everything is
yeah,
going on, right?
you're right. Actually, at that time, Hyderabad was not that much the technology hub. Bangalore was the hub for most of the American companies, European companies. A lot of IT development was happening in Bangalore. So getting a job in Bangalore was considered as you have built up your career very fast. And
How does it compare, Abhinav, from village? You've come from a village life in India where there's 20 cows are your responsibility, to big city Bangalore, everything's going crazy, and you've got this corporate job. Is are you comparing your life? How does that feel?
I think at that time I was not that much philosophical, because this whole journey was more into what society considered a developed mindset or developed life or a developed family, right? That time thought was, let me become successful what society considers a successful individual or successful family. So of course I'll spend maybe more than an hour in traffic, but it wouldn't bother me. I would spend maybe 8 to 10 hours in office work, and it would be okay, right? So I was not kind of comparing what is life which I had in my village versus what I have now. I thought this is the reality to become successful. And in that pursuit of success, getting to that success, uh, I started thinking more philosophically, like what are the most successful people do, what are the most successful people live, how they behave, and all that. So I started building my corporate career as I joined G Capital as a data analyst, and then from to other companies, become manager to a company, and that company asked me to move to US back in uh, 2007. And that opportunity was good, because a lot of people at that time were asking, hey, we want to be placed on site. On site means going to US or Europe or Australia. And I was still a village boy. For me, it the the root, or you call it the origin, was always my village and still is my village. In mathematics, there is a term on a xy plane, they say 0 0 coordinate. So my 0 0 coordinate is still my village. That's where my root is, and that's where I feel the most. And I always give an analogy that if you look at any tree which throws leaves every fall season, those leaves always prosper the root where they grew up. That the whole leaf decomposes in the same root where it grew up, right? So if you look at overall, I want to learn from nature. And the nature always says you never forget your roots. And that whole idea, I still feel myself, I'm more villager than anybody else. Um, but continuing my journey in 2007, we came with my family and both kids. We moved from India to New York City, worked for a company in Grand Central, which is the key place in, like a blocks away from Times Square. So coming to New York in like November, that and first snowfall, that was something nice to see, but difficult to handle because we never faced those situations. So we didn't have car, we didn't have any understanding, and it was tough for kids. I had small kids at that time. uh, I think my daughter was 4 year and son was a year and a half. So these were small kids, and taking them in strollers and all that in a icy road was difficult. We learned it. And then working for like 2 year for this company, just after a year, not even a year, I think 2007 November we came, and 2008 recession hit US. So there was a lot of panic in next 6 months, like summer of 2008. It was so much panic in US. It started with the UK actually. The Royal Bank of Scotland declared bankruptcy, and they declared that, hey, we are not the bankruptcy, but they said that we have some huge losses in real estate, and that came to Lehman Brothers filing for bankruptcy here in US, and then AIG and lot many companies. So I was working for a call center company as a analytics guy, and I could see that data coming in and people not paying their dues. So my job was to build up the policy that how do we take money from the people who have missed their payments. So we built up multiple models. We try to understand the situation. But when there is a recession, when there's no money, then you can't do much, right? My model is great, it's predicting and all that, but how does it translate? And it impacts human life, it impacts my life, and it impacted many of my friends' life. So when I came to US, I asked my company that, hey, I would not come on a visa, you have to file my green card. And my friend said, you are out of your mind. They're asking you to come to US and you putting a condition. And I said, look, I still believe that I can go to my village, uh, enjoy my life, and I don't think that I need to go to US for something which I can achieve here. So this sense was always there, but eventually the company agreed. Surprisingly, they said, yeah, you come on a visa, because we cannot file green card while you are in India. So you come here, and within 3 months we'll file your green card. And I wanted that on paper, written in black and white. That was the whole intention behind asking that thing. And thankfully they did it, and I got green card in 3 months. And then I was free. But a lot of my friends who came in the same company, they were asked to go back because on a visa they said we don't have money here because of recession, we're not getting new clients, we're not getting new business. Situation was in front of me as well, but I had green card, so I kind of started looking, thanks to Royal Bank of Scotland, and they were has huge losses here as well. So they set up a new department, and I joined that department to take their analytical journey and worked for a couple of years there, back in Stanford, Connecticut. And from there, got an opportunity to work in Bay Area, joined Apple as a data scientist. And that's where I think I was in almost 40 year at that time. And a lot of corporates kind of face it like a midlife crisis or crisis of 40 or whatever they call. And people were talking, and I didn't know what does it mean. But later it got clear. So Around 2015 or so, I started thinking, what is the purpose of life? Why I am at the world's most influential company, world's most successful company, and one of the most respected job in this industry called data scientist. So what did I do for it? Is it just me who made it, or it is something else? And that's where this whole idea, when you start counting back, like whatever you are, what direction you took, what your speed was, and all those things, when you start accounting for, what I found, that whatever I am is not just me, it is the value system which my parents put, the the society where I grew up, the environment where I lived in, that all shaped me. So if a fruit is very sweet and you like it, fruit may have its own thing, but the bee which pollinated the flower is contributing to that. The leaf which is putting that juice to that fruit is contributing, because it's absorbing solar energy and transforming that into a juice, right? The root which is sitting, nobody sees it. Nobody sees that root which is bringing the mineral from deep in the soil, maybe 40, 50 feet deep, right? So that's how I started looking life, and I thought, like, my root is in that Vedic culture, the Sanatan Dharma, where I grew up. And that has built up a lot of me in it, wherein we try to give back to the community, we give back to the society. So, what is my responsibility to give back to the society? And then I started looking more into what are the principles of this culture. So, high level, they define, you know, that there are three kind of debt each person has. The first debt, they say, the parents' debt, matru ren, pitru ren. That's what ren is, the debt, right? So each person should, they all have it, right? I'm because of my parents. There's no other reason that I could have been here. So my parents, and then they say Guru Ren or Rishi Ren, right? The Guru Ren means the debt to the teachers. The teachers you got from your childhood, from elementary, middle, high school to university and all that. And anybody else, even in a corporate sector, your boss who actually became more like a guide. So all these people, you need to pay it back. And then the cultural rent, they call it Rishi rent basically, which is um, all the system, the value system which they have written in the books, in Veda, Upanishad, Puran, we owe to them. So how do you pay it back? I don't think you can pay it back to mother and father. There's no way. But if you can be nice to them the way they grew, took care of you, if you can take care of them when they need it, I think that's one effort, at least the acknowledgement that yes, I really respect that thing. The guru rent or teachers, that is basically you try to uh, popularize the education, the learning, whatever you have got from that for a wider society. And the rishi rent, the cultural aspect, is you contribute back to that community, to the at a large, right? So this thought came in, and I'm now almost at 40, and I'm like, these are two different things. So if I look at my roots, my village, I still feel like I'm the first one coming to US from that whole village. And whenever I go to my village, they consider I'm some big shot. Because people know this is information age. People know I work for Apple, I live in a Bay Area, and all people know that San Francisco Bay Area is one of the hottest place on this planet. They call it Silicon Valley. um, but I'm still thinking, how do I make another kid from my village to see the success which I have seen, and people now call it as a successful life. A lot of my friends, with whom I started my journey, they consider that I was successful working for Apple, working for data scientists in a field, and it's a high paying job. I think a lot of people want to become data scientists, and I'm thinking that whatever has been the reason for it, I think I have to return it back. And then the situation comes in end of 16, that I discussed with my family that, I think what I want to do is do something different now in life, not just go like a 9 to 5 job. And it was not 9 to 5, it was like more 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. job. um, and living in Bay Area for about 5 years, what I realized, that we all live in a golden cocoon. And I call it golden cocoon because all all of us, we basically try to find best house, the beautiful house, in a great school district. So in US there is a grading system. They call it 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and 1 out of 10, right? So there's a grading done by a company called greatschools.org, and they grade every single elementary school, every single middle school, every single high school. So people, and mostly Indians, people like me, they say we should have our house in a 10 out of 10 school. Now, just for a reference for other people, those who don't know, the education system in America is like your school is fixed to a house. So wherever you live, your kid will go to the same school, which is assigned for that house. It's not that you live in one place and you send your kid to like 20 mile away. That's not allowed here, unless you send them to a private school, which is more like a expensive deal. The government school system is designed like that, and they're pretty good system. So we got our house in a 10 out of 10 school district, San Ramon, California, most sought after city, beautiful city, loved it, right? And and of course the pricing are top of the world. So and those are very interesting stories, how we found the house and how we outbid the other people, and how your uh, what you take home makes difference and all that. But living in that house, what I was thinking, hey, I'm paying a lot of mortgage. I'm living in the most sought after thing, and I'm making good money at my job. But am I really enjoying it? I leave this house 6:30 in the morning because I have to take the bus which goes to Apple campus. So, and then from there I come back around, leave my office 7, come home 8. So I'm not really enjoying it. It's just like a beautiful hotel experience wherein, thanks to my wife and kids, they would wait for some time and then you have food ready, you eat it, sleep it, and then go back. So this golden cocoon is like you feel like you living in such a beautiful place, such a secure place, such a more like all beautiful things. But there's a cost to it. The cost is that for next 30 year in my life, I'll just keep paying the mortgage. Of course it may not take 30 years, it may take less, but still you have to keep making that money for at least next 10, 20, 30 years of life. And if that's the purpose, I mean, that's fine. But that's the life? Because now I started comparing my life back in village versus here. That my father was a school teacher, and most of school is mostly like from 7 to afternoon 2 o'clock. But rest of his time is with the family, so he would spend time with them. um, he would work in agriculture fields, he would work with cows, he would work with all of them. So now I'm thinking, with that little salary, he was able to raise 4 of us, and we would have best of the best food. Our milk was coming from our own cows, no chemical, no pesticide. um, we would have unlimited access to milk, to ghee, the ghee which is we make, right? People call it clarified butter, but I won't say this is not clarified but it's the pure thing which you can get. So, and all fruits, vegetables, grains, everything was from cow based, right? So I'm now comparing life. Here I'm earning a lot of money, but still getting access to quality food is a challenge. Wherever people say, oh, this store is very good, it's all organic. But when I started researching back into the root of that organic stuff, it was horrifying. It's just a branding, it's a marketing in most of the cases. There may be some small things, because at a commercial scale, if you're selling organic, I don't see the back end system that is broken. There is, I'm yet to find a big commercial organic fertilizer or nutrient company which will say I'm 100% organic and I can produce fertilizer for say thousands of acre. Yet to find. It's practically impossible, and that is the knowledge which I gained in my childhood, that to get 100% organic it has to be 100% cow based, animal based, nature based, and all of that. And nobody want to work in the field, nobody want to work with the cows, nobody want to pick up the cow dung. So how it's possible that somebody is saying that my fields are 100% organic? It's not, right? So again, these are some controversial things, but when you know both of the aspects, then you know what is right and what is wrong. Milk industry, people don't talk, but when you start working in milk industry, then you realize. So I would say that in 16, by the 16, I realized that this golden cocoon has to be broken out. Otherwise, in next 20 years, let's say I'm in 60, I'm retired, what I would do with this house? My kids will be gone. And I started talking to these people who are 30, 40, 50 year older to me, who have done the same thing. I'm doing the same thing what they did. So when I talk to these people, they see that, oh, our kids are well settled. Some is CTO, some is CEO, some is this and that. Successful people. And I'm on the same path. But these parents are living alone in their houses, beautiful homes, but two old couple living there. Once, which actually changed my mind, I was sitting with one very elderly couple, maybe both 70 plus. And I would normally ask them that, hey, I want to meet you, discuss with you what is life. And so they said, why don't you come to our home? We'll talk in the afternoon. So one Sunday afternoon, I went there and discussed with them. Uh, First 15 minutes was very highly glorifying discussion. Oh, we came from India, very struggle and this, that. And then we settled a lot of people from India. And eventually, that auntie made some food. And she said, let's have some food, and because it's a lunchtime. And I said, okay. And she's putting food in the plate, and what she's saying that I'm really happy that after 2 years there are three people sitting on this dining table, on this lunch table. Now, to me, I don't know what was the happiness in that. I don't know. The different people will interpret this differently, right? Some people have accepted it. Oh, this is the reality. We can do much. Other people will say, oh, because parents don't compromise, parents don't do this, that. But to me, it was like, this is not the life I want to live. This life I basically don't want to live. So I had the food very quiet, and internally it was like a turmoil internally in the brain. So when I came back from there, that was the day I like, if you have to change something, when would you change? Would you change at 60? Would you change at 70? Or would you change at 40, which is you now? And my mind says that I think if you have to change, it have to change now, because at 60, mind will be very strong, very focused, but physically I won't be able to do much, right? This is what the thing is. So if you have to do something at 40, what should be that? Like, what is the life you want to see at 70? And mind is such a beautiful thing. Whatever thought you give it, it multiplies. If you give it positive thought, it will positively multiply to that extent that you can believe. If you give a negative thought, it will be go to negative to that extent you can't believe that I can think or even I can act it, right? So the thought defines what we are. Our thoughts define what we are. The moment you start thinking, that thinking starts converting into uh, a motivational thought, and that motivational thought starts converting into a deterministic thought, and deterministic thoughts goes into actionable thought. And once action happens, that's what we are. So mind says that at 70, all I want, uh, a tree, any tree, but I called it neem tree. Neem tree is most of people, those who don't know, it's a very bitter taste, but mostly used as a natural antibiotic. In India, you find it very commonly, and is one of the herb which treats so many things. So I was saying there should be a neem tree and there should be a charpai under it, and there should be some kids running around. So that was the mind's expectation at 70. And so I'm saying, okay, if we have to execute that, then the neem tree has to be planted today. You cannot just say, hey, I want a big giant neem tree when I'm 60 or 70. Tree takes 15, 20 years to grow, right? The tree has to be there. The charpai or the cot, the Indian cot, right? That is a very flexible bed. You can sleep anywhere and very light, right? That I can make, or people can make. And kids, but where do you get the kids? My kids will be grown up by that time, which means there has to be a school around it. There has to be a setup of a gurukul, in ancient days. So now this thought is coming, how do I give back to my guru? How do I give back that whole education which I learned? So there should be a school, there should be a setup. And if that has to happen, the journey has to start today. This is I'm talking around end of 16, discussed with wife and family, and I said we're going to go to my village. We'll set up a gurukul. And it was a lot of discussion in the family, but eventually in March 2017, we were back to my village with this vision of setting up a gurukul for 200, 300 kids. And we had the land. Our family owns about like 25, 30-acre land in the village. And we are 9 cousins. So me and my brother, but then my father has 2 brothers. So eldest brother has 2 sons, and the middle one 5 sons. So that's how we are 9 cousins. We all grew up together, and nobody lives in that village. So I discussed with all of them that, hey, this is something I want to do. And initially they didn't believe that I can quit Apple and I can quit American life and come and live in the village again.
So you were literally quitting your job, taking your family from the US to
Yeah,
live back in India.
yeah. I quit
Wow.
my job. Uh, my friends, my boss couldn't believe that I'll just go to a village and grow vegetables, educate kids or do something, that. So it was, but that's what I did.
Okay.
It takes a lot of courage, and I think since I have done it, I can help shape the thought, because thought defines you. I didn't want to have any excuse at 70, 60 if I'm alive at that time, that, oh man, I could have done this earlier, but sorry, I couldn't do, right? So I'm trying my best, and I think my next 15, 20 years would be struggle, full of struggle, but I will have the satisfaction of fixing it. A lot of successful NRIs, especially I'm talking people who grew up in India, they want to do a good for the country, but there is a risk in doing it. Risk means they are so much attached to the life which they have built right now. Suddenly giving up that is not possible. If you individually want, the family around it will not let it happen. So how do you still try to get your things done? I think I have kind of figured it out with my family, and we are on a mission right now. The first thing I did, when we reached in my village, my kids had they never had this experience of living in a village, because earlier we used to go for a night or 2 night or maximum a week, and that would just pass by very fast. This time they were there for permanent. Their schooling has to happen in a same school system where I grew up in a village. And they have to meet with the village kids, which are poor, not rich, and these kids have like um, seen all the luxury. So it was tough for them. They have never had mosquito bite in their life, and that was the first encounter, and they had to learn it. We had mosquito net, but still, there were many nights no electricity in a village. Still we don't have like 24 by 7 electricity, right? Here in US, we never saw um, light trip, without electricity. So it was 180-degree turn for their life, and thanks that they were exposed to this, because kids adopt to that change much faster if they are in middle school age group, and they learn because they're very curious. If you don't expose them to new things, they will start saying, I'm bored, or we are bored. But if you keep on like exposing them to new ideas, new thoughts, new learning, or whatever, they'll be busy in their life learning it. So what we did, we are now in a village, and idea is to set up a gurukul. But when I landed there, this whole idea of the food quality kind of took uh, priority, because when I saw in all the farmers in my neighborhood and rest of the village, and wherever I travel, everybody is growing with chemicals, and these are toxic chemicals, the pesticide and all that. We all see it. I mean, in developed world have their own stories of horrifying chemical effects. So I think the first thing came to the mind before I asked somebody else's kid to come here and study, and I built up a beautiful school. If I don't have good quality food, my whole effort will go waste. See, if you don't have right nutrition, which is the good food for the body, if body doesn't get full nutrition, your mind will not work in a perfect way. It may work in negative way, but not in a positive, constructive way. So food quality became, soil health became the first priority. And to solve this soil health, that's where this whole idea of cow-based ecosystem came in place. And cow naturally came in the place, and maybe this was the childhood dream that I should live my later life with cows. So started building a model for cows, and currently we have a 200 cows facility in my village. The whole cow dung urine goes to a biodigester which produces methane, and that methane we convert into electricity. So we are producing 30 kilowatt, three phase for 40 volt just from the cow dung. And that is a commercial power. Just push a button, you get the power, and you can run your air conditioning, you can run your chilling, packaging, pasteurization, and the farm equipments.
I've been have a quick question about that. So that amount, that equivalent of that electricity, if
Yeah.
I had a three-bedroom house, how
Mm.
long would it last in
So
that three-bedroom house?
normally, uh, three-bedroom house, whatever, in a developed country setting, average family has like a 1 kilowatt uh, connection, right? So
Okay.
1 kilowatt single phase. We have 30 kilowatt three phase. So we could easily feed to 30 houses, not an issue. But my purpose was not to electrify 30 houses in the village, but more like how do I make my operation self-sustainable? Because in a village, you don't get electricity. And I knew it, and that we were experiencing. First thing was, how do I get this energy which can be converted from cow dung, from solar? So we got a solar plant, which is 5 kilowatt, which feeds to our house where we live, and then 30 kilowatt for rest of the processing. And then the bioslurry which comes from that plant goes to a biofertilizer unit. Today we have a biofertilizers facility which is 300 ton per month. So basically we process 10,000 kg cow dung every day to convert that into nutritional rich biofertilizer. And I think we can transform uh, from sand to soil in a much faster way, in an organic way, in a way which will be remembered by the generations. So I'm sure you are aware. If not, for those who don't know, there's a whole initiative going on, Save Soil. So if you search this term, Save Soil, you'll see a lot of campaigns going on, because scientists are predicting that in next 50 to 60 years, we will not have soil to grow food. You can have best technology, you can have best fighting planes, you can have best of the missiles, everything, best satellite. But imagine if you don't have food here, we not like human civilization is not going to last long. Even 10 years would be hard. because you can't store food for 10 years. The food is something which you grow every year, every season, and you consume it. So few greedy people may end up this whole human civilization. I think society at a large, we have to learn more farming practices, expose our kids to farming, expose them to nature way of living. And that's where I see that, this whole concept will converge into eventually today we are running this operation. So what you see here, cow is in center of it. Cow giving cow dung, going to biodigester, biodigester giving methane, methane going to electricity generator, biogenerator, and then slurry going to biofertilizer unit, biofertilizer going to soil, and soil producing fruit, grains, vegetables, fodder for cows, and cow eating the fodder again. So it's a closed loop, right? There's no wastage in it. That's what a sustainability means. That we are supplementing each other, complementing each other, right? That project is running since 2018. So it's been 4 years. In fact, March of 2018 was the first time we got the electricity from that plant. And since then,
Wow.
um,
That must have been amazing. When you got that electricity, you must have been dancing and
yeah,
so happy.
it was awesome experience. Like, I could not imagine that you could have electricity in my village at a three phase. And then biofertilizer was the next big thing, which I was very much worried that I have the cows, I can fix my soil, but how do I fix the thousands of acre of soil in the whole village? So now we are at a stage that we could, provide fertilizer to interested farmers who want to do this organic way of them. And this can apply anywhere in the world. It's not just India or my village. This is such a replicable product or project that people in South African villages could learn and be self-sustainable.
Could it
Where?
be done? Could it be done on a big scale though? I mean,
Oh,
you've got
absolutely.
200 cows, but would you just need a lot of land? Is that the issue?
No, I would decentralize it. I would not make a centralized system. So
Okay.
decentralized means what we do today. I cannot handle say 2,000 cows, but there are people who are handling 5 cows, 10 cows in their home, and they're collecting the cow dung. So we design a system in a neighborhood where I can get say let's say 10-ton cow dung every day. 10-ton cow dung means 1,000 cows roughly, right? So if you have a village which has say 1,000 cattle or 2,000 cattle, we could create an employment over there. We collect that cow and we bring to this processing facility. It produces methane first and produces electricity or fuel for the village. And then bioslurry goes to biofertilizer. And that biofertilizer goes to soil. And if you ask me, the first right on cow dung is of Mother Earth. Nobody else should use it. Right?
Amazing. And there's so much in this, Abhinav, which is I'm learning so much. I've literally said nothing this whole time, just been listening.
That's what I was like. You're going to ask me a question, or
I can't ask you any questions because it's just so cool. I love it. But Abhinav, I do have a few questions. So is this the only one right now in the world that's like you've created? Have you done any others in America, in anywhere else? What?
well, then the second chapter started back in end of 19. So that project is still running fine. My younger brother, who was in Mumbai, who came back with his family, and he started taking over. So now he's running it. The whole family supporting all team members there. And then we came to US, just more like a visit to US, which we used to do every 6-8 months. This time we came end of November 19, and idea was to explore few areas, Florida, Texas, and other southern part of US, which we never did explore while living in US. Um, but we didn't know that COVID is following us, or we were being trapped by COVID. So we came to Houston, and within a month, we rented some house, and then COVID came, and we got stuck here. And that's where another chapter started. So, in peak of COVID, we were like, when everywhere in the world was like hundreds of thousands people dying every day, we were also scared. And we thought, if we have to die, let's die with in a campus where cows are there. So it started as a family initiative. I started looking for a land in Houston, which is unrestricted, where I could keep a cow. Surprisingly, in a developed communities, you can have a horse but not a cow. And I don't know why that narrative has been set up. And for me, it was like, yeah, horse, okay, I don't differentiate, but I need a cow because cow gives me milk, cow can give me fertilizer, cow can give me all those things which I need to survive at when the rest of the world doesn't have all these technology, supply chain, and all of that. That was the fear we were seeing, right? And even right now, I think we see the whole fear of the world war and all that, and a lot of things
Yeah.
have been impacted. Supply chain is totally broken, right? Things are not there. So so we started this initiative in Houston, and right now people can see the details at texasgaushala.com. This is the concept. Right now we have 17 cows here, and right now it's a 4-acre land, but pretty soon we might move to a bigger land and bigger cows and set up small dairy, some herbal products. So it's still in pipeline, but it's the exciting phase of life now that we have another center, and this center could become a center for learning and development for other people to come and visit and see how a sustainable life could be on a farm, on a small farm or a big scale or a commercial scale. I mean, all three options are there because when we design this cow-based ecosystem, there are 8-point formula which we have come up with, and you can see more on a website called gobar.pro, gobar.pro. We have listed down how cow dung can be converted into fertilizer and other concepts. So some of these are commercial activities. Let's say if you go in a US context, I'm saying if we convert bio waste into energy, that's a renewable source of energy, and a lot of companies now asking that our footprint should increase more into renewable energy in uh, clean energy than the
Es-
fossil fuel.
Especially when, and this is where it's going to get interesting because culturally, you're in two completely different
Yeah.
cultures.
Yes.
India, cows sacred.
Correct.
America, cows, and
Food.
the Western world is food,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this. Yes, it's much more accepted in India. It's
Mm.
kind of, but on a small scale, showing people. I think through showing people like you can,
Mm.
and you
Mm.
just talked. The cows are already there in America. I've been past farms where there's thousands of cows, places you wouldn't even want to be within 5 miles of because the way they get treated in America.
Right. Yes.
But their dung and stuff is just getting wasted, and then it's being polluted back in. So there's so much to it. And you know what's so interesting is
Mm.
you had a dream that you wanted to have cows as a child.
Yes,
You know,
I think so. I think what you think that comes back. So you better think right things and positive things.
back to your roots, right? Back to your roots that you talked about at the very
Right.
beginning, your roots, and that the zero, the origin of the map or the graph.
Correct. Yes.
I love it. So we're going to go into a little bit of we're going to go into some quick fire questions if that's okay.
Mhm.
I know that you're in Texas. How do people get hold of you and find out more about what you're doing? Is there social media or is it the website like you said? Is there other ways to get and find out?
Yes. Yeah, social media on Facebook, they can see India Project at facebook.com/Vedic Tree Bharat, VEDICTREE That's all details on that project. The Texas project, they can see facebook.com/Texas Gaushala, TEXASGAUSHALA, or texasgaushala.com. They can connect with any of our volunteers, with me or anybody, um, and vedictree.org. That's the main organization, vedictre.org. So there are multiple ways to connect, and
And we will put all your links into whatever you're listening to on our podcast, or if you're reading it, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll find everything in the show notes to be able to reach out to
yeah,
Abhinav and find out more. So, are you ready for some quick fire questions,
Oh,
Abhinav?
absolutely. Yeah,
This
let it
is so. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start a sentence, and you're gonna finish that sentence if that's okay. If you want to quickly, because it's quick fire, if you want to quickly explain a little bit about your answer, you're more than welcome to.
Okay. All right.
So, first question:
Hmm.
Life is about.
About sustainability, about making society self-sustain. And I think life is about living with cows.
I love it. Home is.
Home is a place where I'll start with Kabir was the ancient poet.
Mhm.
He says, साईं इतना दीजिए जामे कुटुम समाए मैं भी भूखा ना रहूं साधु न भूखा जाए. So he says that, hey, I'm a family man, and all I request you to give me, he's praying to his God, right? Give me enough that I shouldn't feel hungry. But if there is a guest coming to me, I should have food for that. So that's, I would call a home. That I don't want to accumulate all world's money and all that and don't know what to do with it. I think I have enough to take care of my family. Plus, if some guest shows up, I have enough to feed them. That is where I would call a home.
Amazing. I love it. If so, let me try and phrase this one correctly here.
Hmm.
If I was to speak to my 16-year-old self,
Hmm.
I would say,
I would say understand this physical body. What's the purpose of this body? The human birth is the most important birth in all the creations on this planet. This most intelligent creation should be invested for betterment of others. And your life will be changed when you start thinking that way. Somehow the modern education system actually teaches about my right, my this, my that. My kids start saying this is my right. Most of the American parents can understand it when kids say, oh, this is my right. But where is your duty? Who's going to teach your duty? So if you are a 16-year, I think rather than the right, learn what is your duty, how you can contribute back to the betterment of this world. If you're going to destroy it, I think that's an easy thing. Falling is very easy. You know, you leave the water, it will always go to the down place. Lifting the water takes energy. Lifting the water takes energy. It takes the science and all that. So lifting the life takes whole lot of effort. A 16-year should think about how they make this world better.
amazing. I love it. I've never heard of that comparison between duty and rights. Oh, incredible.
Oh
My
yeah.
last question, which is a little bit different on the quick fire questions, is if there was a law, the Abhinav Goswami law, that it was your law and everyone had to follow it into the government around the world or wherever you wanted to put it, what would that law or rule be? What would it be and why?
I'll build some background here, but I'll answer it. Uh, yeah, there's a beautiful text in Hinduism called Mahabharata, and it has answers to all world problem. If somebody has studied it, then they will not find a problem which has not been solved there. Okay. And there's a one sloka in this. They say, Mahajano yen gatah sapantha, which means Mahajano means your elders, your intellectuals, the people who have lived before you. So it is comes in a context that when you have a doubt, when you have dilemma, when you don't know what to do. So what should be the action? What should I do in that situation when I'm confused? And the sage says, don't worry, Mahajano yena gatha sapantha. You just follow the path which your elders have followed. You know? So if I'm in a desert, something I don't know, or I'm in a forest, what should be the path? Oh, where if you see some footsteps, or you see some highway, or you see some, little um, little steps, just follow that. Yeah, that step may not be of a human, maybe of cows, or maybe of deers or anybody, just follow it. Maybe you will lead somewhere. So I don't have to define a rule. I don't have to define if I have all the powers. I will simply uh, quote another shloka from Hindu text, and this is Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashid dukh bhag bhave. The four steps in this, it says, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, let all be happy. When I say all be happy, means you have good food to eat, you have good house to sleep, you have good ecosystem, you have good friends, and all of it, right? Then only you will be happy. Otherwise, there is no way, right? You have all the things to eat, good food, but you don't have friends, you don't have society. Then you can't be happy, right? You have food, but you don't have house. Then would you be happy? No. So the human existence, this physical existence, requires these 4 5 things. And Sarve bhavantu sukhina, let all be happy. Sarve santu niramaya, let all be disease free. Disease is something which, which shuts down everything. No matter how happy you are, no matter how money you have, no matter how good friends you have, the moment you become sick, this all things don't have any meaning. And we have recently seen in COVID, we have seen stories where people were sitting on money, but we couldn't save them. I have lost few people very close, near and dear ones, right? So the prayer says, let all be disease free. How do we be disease free? I mean, we'll be disease free when we start building an ecosystem, which if we don't give disease to someone, it probably will not come to us. If my soil is disease free, if my soil is chemical free, toxic free, I'll get a good food, I'll get a good grain, I'll get good vegetable, right? And then Sarve Santu Nirame, that's what it says. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. All should look with positive attitude towards others, right? Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kashid Dukh Bhavet. Oh God, there should be no uh, person who has any kind of sorrow. So, if I get that power, I mean, this is the first thing I'll implement. How do you implement it? I mean, there's a process and there's the whole idea, but uh, I don't want to define my own rule. I already have cow there. Cow is the most intelligent creation on this planet, which is 100% sustainable. Anything from cow, whatever you see from cow, is always giving attitude, right? People who see food in it, they may realize later on. But if human life has to be sustained on this planet, cow would be the one medium to sustain that life. Uh, by the way I define cow is COW, is creator of wealth.
I love it. Ah,
You know,
amazing. Amazing.
since 2018, I have not paid single dollar to get that electricity. Can you imagine an electric company which will say, hey, okay, you run my electricity and I'll not charge anything. I'm running multiple air conditioning, chilling, packaging, posturing. No statement from cow. Hey, you didn't pay last quarter bill, so I'm not going to use electricity. That's the prosperity. So cow creates prosperity.
Mhm.
Rest of the things on this planet are like exchange of money, right?
Yeah.
Cow is not doing exchange of money. The fertilizer, this is eating just dry grass or green grass, converting that into 18 different mineral nutrient, micronutrient in the cow dung within 12 hours. Can you imagine a factory like it? Which is just
Incredible, isn't it? It's absolutely mind when you think of it like that and you talk the way you talked,
right.
and it's part of you. Oh man, this is so much fun. I've got 2 questions left.
Okay.
2 questions that I ask every Tales to Inspire guest. Every single person who's been on our podcast and show have answered these two
Okay.
questions. The
Okay.
first question is, Abhinav Goswami, what is the definition or your definition of the word inspire?
I guess it's like handing over from one generation to another. If I can do something to a kid and that kid starts becoming me, my thought gets implemented there. So if I can inspire a kid to become like me, not that I want to be like, because I'm not me, I'm being driven by someone else's thought. The sloka I said, right? So that says is basically in me saying, this is what I want. Same thing, I'm just transferring it like a torch bearer. So if I can hand over it to next kid, and that, so today I have a vision of setting up 108 goshalas across the world, right? If I can find a kid who says, no, I'll take it to 1008, and there's another kid who says, I'll take it 10,008, why not? You've got 7 billion people to think about that.
Amazing, amazing. And my final question that I ask everyone on the Tales from Inspire podcast is, if you live, imagine you live your best life you want to live. You get to 110 years old, okay?
Yeah.
And you're looking back on your life and you've really lived the best life that you want to live. What is it that you feel you want to have achieved, the most proudest thing that you want to have achieved during your lifetime?
Well, 101 or 110 is not enough, because if I set up, say, one Gaushala in 2 year or 3 year, 108 setup will take at least 324 years, on an average 3 years. So I think I'm going to live at least that much, if not in this body, maybe in another body. And Hinduism kind of, the whole principle is that your body changes, the soul remains the same. So as a soul, I think I'll keep working on this concept for next, I don't know, 300 400 years, unless like a whole world comes together and say, no, don't worry, we'll set up 108 in like 2 years. That's a different thing.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. And I just want to say, I just want to say from me to you and thank you.
Oh,
Thank
really,
you so much.
I enjoyed, Chris, talking to you, and uh, looking forward for some change in this world. I think
Mhm.
saving the soil is important. How do we save the soil? I have a vision for it. I have already done it for 4 or 5 years, and I'm doing it today. If kids want to learn it, I'll be happy. If farmers want to learn, I will be happy to share this knowledge, which I've gained through learning, through teaching, through understanding, through reading, and through practical experiences.
Mm. And that would be the collaboration. Is
Right.
whoever's listening to this, if you are listening to this podcast or you watching us or whatever you're doing, and you feel, wow, I'd like to learn more. I'd just maybe the chat with Abhinav or whatever it is
Yes.
can spark a collaboration. Maybe you're based in. We have people from 37 countries listening to this
Wow.
all over the world. So someone in Sweden could say, you know what, or someone in Ethiopia could say, you
Yeah,
know what, I want to
absolutely.
do this.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I'll be happy to guide, talk, travel, or help this system come again.
amazing. Oh, thank you so much. How incredible was that? Abhinav talks about so many important things, and each part of his life, he talks about why he does what he does. Really go into the focus, the origin of that graph. And his origin was his village, his home, knowing that his roots are so important. The way he describes that leaves and fruit are so important, and that they always return back to the grass and back to the soil, so that it's this ecosystem that helps itself. It's sustainable. The way he looks at cows and animals, and the way he's not only talked about it, he's taken action. He's taken action so that it's actually proving that it works. One thing that I took, or one of the many things I took from this, is without action, nothing is worth talking about. Everything has to equal action in the end product. Every formula that we have, and what? What are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? And what can you inspire in someone else to do something about it? Can we form a movement of people towards a common cause for good? Honestly, I absolutely, as you can tell, loved Abhinav. I thought it was incredible. Reach out to him, reach out to Texas Gaushala. There's so many things. I learned so much. The Mahabhat that he talks about, and so much more. I absolutely loved it. Thank you for being part of this inspirational movement. Remember that you can become a patron of Tales to Inspire by donating as little as £2 a month to this inspirational movement. We've got so many things going on, and I want to say a personal thank you to all of you. Remember, we have to keep inspiring that person in the mirror, and that we all have a tale to inspire. Sometimes we just have to dig a little for it to come to the surface. Take care and have a wonderful week.